Henry M. Morris, biography, the father of modern creation science. Few individuals have had a greater influence on the modern young earth creationist movement than Henry M. Morris. Often called the father of modern creation science, Morris helped transform a relatively small movement into an international force that continues to shape debates about science, faith, and the interpretation of Genesis. Henry Madison Morris was born on October 6, 1918 in Dallas, Texas. Growing up, he developed a strong interest in both science and Christianity. Unlike many who saw conflict between the two, Morris believed they could be harmonized through a literal interpretation of the Bible. As a young man, Morris pursued engineering rather than theology. He attended Rice Institute, earning degrees in civil engineering. He later completed a doctorate in hydraulic engineering at the University of Minnesota. His academic achievements gave him scientific credentials that would later lend credibility to his arguments within conservative Christian circles. Early in his career, Morris worked as an engineer and professor. Yet alongside his professional work, he maintained a deep interest in biblical origins. He became increasingly convinced that many Christians had compromised Scripture by accepting millions of years of Earth history and evolutionary theory. Morris believed that the opening chapters of Genesis described real historical events, including a recent creation and a global flood in the days of Noah. A turning point came when Morris encountered the work of George McCready Price, an earlier advocate of flood geology. Price argued that many geological formations commonly attributed to vast ages could instead be explained by Noah's flood. Morris found these ideas compelling and began developing them further. In 1961, Morris co-authored a book that would dramatically change the creationist movement, The Genesis Flood, written with theologian John C. Whitcomb. The book argued that a worldwide flood described in Genesis was responsible for much of Earth's geological record. The publication of the Genesis flood is often considered the birth of the modern creation science movement. Before the book, belief in a young Earth existed mainly in scattered churches and small groups. After its publication, creationist organizations, conferences, educational programs, and research efforts expanded rapidly across the United States and beyond. Morris became a sought-after speaker, traveling extensively to lecture on creation science. He is known for presenting his arguments in a calm, academic style, emphasizing engineering and geology while defending biblical authority. To supporters, he demonstrated that educated scientists could reject evolutionary explanations while remaining committed Christians. In 1970, Morris founded the Institute for Creation Research, often known as ICR. The organization became one of the most influential creationist ministries in the world. Through books, articles, educational programs, and public lectures, ICR sought to promote scientific arguments supporting a young Earth and a literal reading of Genesis. Over the years, Morris authored or co-authored dozens of books. His writings cover topics such as creation, geology, evolution, biblical prophecy, apologetics, and theology. He became one of the most prolific voices in the creationist movement and helped train a generation of speakers, researchers, and ministry leaders. Morris's influence extended far beyond his own writings. Many well-known creationist organizations and leaders, including later figures such as Ken Ham, built upon the foundation that Morris helped establish. While their ministries developed independently, the modern young earth creationist movement owes much of its organizational structure and intellectual framework to Morris's pioneering efforts. His work was not without controversy. The overwhelming majority of scientists rejected his conclusions, arguing that geological, astronomical, biological, and genetic evidence supports an ancient Earth and evolutionary history. Critics viewed creation science as lacking scientific support, while supporters saw Morris as a courageous defender of biblical truth against prevailing academic opinion. Regardless of where one stands in that debate, Morris's historical impact is undeniable. He helped revive and organize a movement that might otherwise have remained on the margins. His books influenced churches, schools, homeschooling families, and ministries around the world. Henry M. Morris continued writing and speaking well into his later years. He passed away on February 25, 2006, at the age of 87. By the time of his death, he had become one of the most influential figures in 20th century evangelical apologetics. Today, Henry M. Morris is remembered as a man who combined scientific training, religious conviction, and organizational leadership to create a movement that continues to influence discussions about origins, science, and faith. Whether viewed as a visionary defender of Genesis or as a controversial critic of mainstream science, his legacy remains one of the most significant in the history of modern creationism.